fake, illegitimate, harami, not real. These are just a few of the labels thrown upon me across years and years. Words that cut deeper than I can even describe. But these were not critiques of my character, nor were they something I did wrong. They were attacks on my very existence. And the cruelest part is that it didn't come from strangers. It came from people who I thought would understand me the most. Relatives, so-called friends, and others in my cultural communities. That kind of hurt was not easy to process. My name is Qiana, and my story traces back to India in the 1800s. You see, due to British colonization, my family moved from India to Fiji to work on the sugarcane plantations. And there, once the British left, my ancestors stayed, causing them, my family, and my ethnicity today to be categorized as a Fijian Indian or an Indo-Fijian. And you see, despite both my parents being from Fiji, in a religious sense, my mother is a Muslim and my father is a Hindu. And when I was around 2 to 3 years old, my parents divorced and my childhood became a world of two different faiths, two worlds and two ways of being. One week, I'd be going to the mosque, learning how to read and write in Arabic, reciting surahs from the Quran and praying to Allah. The next week, I'd be immersed in Hinduism, praying to gods like Jai Ganesh, going to the mandir and going to pujas. Two worlds, two faiths, different ways of being. And me, as a little kid, just trying to hold it and tie it all together. And it made me feel like I was living two different lives. It made me feel like I was two different people. You see, for centuries, Muslims and Hindus have coexisted and have had ongoing conflicts. And in Islam, as well as Hinduism, it is traditionally deemed appropriate to marry and have child with someone within the same religion. And that is when the criticism came. I was either not Muslim enough or I was not Hindu enough. It was a constant tightrope and negotiation to tell people who I was, what I do, what to practice, and so forth. And growing up in a position like this hasn't been all negative. I've been able to see the beauty in both worlds. It's fueled me to study intercultural communication and understand why people criticize. I do note to you tonight, though, that although I had those that criticized me, I never listened to it. Those things could have demised me. It could have made me feel like I had to shrink or hide, being called fake or an illegitimate child. It could have forced me to run and hide, but it did not. I chose to let it fuel me. I put myself into everything, academics, volunteering, sports, clubs, everything, you name it. And it was not to prove to those that criticize me, not at all. It was to affirm to myself that being from more than one background is not a burden. It is a superpower. It is a strength. And today, I stand here knowing that the little girl back then would be proud of the woman I've become today. You see, even though I faced all this criticism, I wondered where it came from. And the solution for it that I found was through intercultural communication. It's about bridging divides, breaking those barriers, and stop having all these biases. It's about understanding, and it's about collaboration. Now, intercultural consciousness and communication is not just two different people from two different cultures talking to each other. It's much, much more than that. Intercultural consciousness and communication is about understanding messages at an international level, being able to understand and uncover why messages travel across borders. It could be in your news, it could be on your TikTok reels as soon as you open your phone, it could be in the journal articles, and so much more. Intercultural consciousness is being aware that messages are being relayed purposely. It could be to sell a product, or it could be to expose a political figure. Being able to consciously know this brings more understanding, and it brings less of biases and barriers. So you might be wondering, how is intercultural consciousness or communication even relevant to you? And it's because us as a society today, we are growing. We are growing at a rapid, rapid rate because of internationalization, globalization, a rise in our populations, and even technological advances. We are all interacting more and more on a global level. And although there is positive change, there do come cons with it too. And that comes with things such as bad habits. These things here can be that in our day and age, it is so normal to be casually racist to one another and have this us versus them mindset. For example, in my own life, being a Fijian Indian compared to an Indian from India, we are criticized because we have more English within our Hindi, within our language. I see this with my Hindu and Muslim communities. I see this with immigrants and locals, and so much more. It does not benefit us. It simply creates divide, a missed opportunity, and so, so much more. This us versus them mindset is unhealthy, and we need to stop this now. So how do we move from reflection to action? Well, I think there's a lot of things that you can do, but I like to put it into 3 steps of the 3 ways and 3 dimensions of intercultural communication. We have context, process, and effect. With context, I like to think about it as the purpose of what you see, the purpose of a news article that you read. What is the headline? Or an interaction that you have with someone. Are they trying to trigger you? Are they trying to engage with you, or are they trying to educate you? Being able to understand the purpose of what you might read or see on social media and so forth is truly key to being critical in our analyzations. We have process, and I like to think about it as this way, that you, as your own person, you will have your own perception of you. You will have your own routine, your own values, your own morals, and that's how you perceive yourself. But it is acknowledgeable to say that other people will have a different perception of you too. And taking that principle, we can apply it here. When you read a news article or something like that about someone else's culture, how are they speaking about that culture? What language are they using? Are they speaking like an outsider, or have they actually been on the inside? Being able to make those biases and see it from an outsider perspective is really, really key. And with effect, I split this up into 2 parts. We have a public effect and a personal effect. With a public effect, everyone in this room, if I were to say an outrageous statement, how would everyone react? But what I really want to focus on is the personal effect. If you have your own background and your own culture, how would you feel if someone talked bad about it? How would you feel if you were criticized just for expressing the way you were born? How would you feel? And that's the main thing. And tonight, after this, I ask of you one thing, and that is to share your own cultural story. It doesn't need to be a short or simple thing. It can be whatever it is. No matter if it's complex or uncomfortable, I ask of you to share it, because vulnerability invites others to seek stories. I do not want to live in a world where we're defined on our labels, or I'm defined on how I was born. I want to live in a world where our stories are created. We're defined on our stories. We're defined on our ethics. We're defined on our achievements, not something you cannot control. Tonight, it starts tonight with you and the power of now. Thank you.